Why simple maths proves French minister's blame of Liverpool fans cannot be true. The row over responsibility for the dangerous and violent chaos at the Champions League final at the Stade de France between Liverpool and Real Madrid on Saturday night is continuing, with senior French government figures doubling down on their blame of Liverpool supporters. Reds fans, including women, children, and the elderly, were struck with riot shields by French military police officers, confronted with tear gas as they attempted to avoid a terrifying crush, and left to fend for themselves after full time against a significant number of armed local youths. Supporters combined masses of video evidence documenting the carnage, proving that they arrived way ahead of kickoff, and demonstrating that the original claim from European governing body UEFA and the French authorities that fans caused havoc via late arrivals was simply untrue. By the end of Saturday night, the French state had switched its excuse, opting instead to blame tens of thousands of ticketless fans for arriving at the match and attacking police officers and stewards. On Monday, the Minister of the Interior Gerald Darmanin and Minister for Sport Amélie Oudéa-Castéra repeated their outlandish claims and attempted to diminish their own responsibility for events by listing some pretty unbelievable numbers. There was massive fraud to an industrial level and organization of fake tickets because the pre-filtering by the Stade de France and the French Football Federation saw that 70% of tickets were fake, Darmanin said. Once through the pre-filtering stage, 15% of tickets were fake, more than 2,600 were non-validated tickets, even though they'd gone through the first filtering. Arsene Wenger says two Liverpool players lacked belief in Champions League final. Thierry Henry calls out Mohamed Salah over Real Madrid comments after Liverpool loss. Carlo Ancelotti claims Liverpool were easier Champions League opponents than Chelsea. The massive presence of these fake tickets was the issue, which meant there were delays. There were 29 arrests that took place within the Stade de France, and more than half of those arrests were British supporters because they'd intruded inside the Stade de France. Oudéa-Castéra went even further, declaring that 40,000 without tickets or fake tickets arrived at the Stade de France and caused trouble. The major central point is to really understand precisely what happened during this massive fraud, as far as the ticketing is concerned, Oudéa-Castéra claimed. There are witnesses of this, and figures corroborate that 30,000 to 40,000 without tickets or with fake tickets. The fake tickets looked incredibly like normal tickets, which meant some controls didn't notice it. What happened, first of all, was this mass gathering of the British supporters of Liverpool without tickets or with fake tickets. So, let's first of all make clear what the key claims the French government are making are. Now that the main arguments of the French state have been identified, we can take them one by one and prove them to be demonstrably untrue and/or physically impossible. Pre-filtering checks caught an enormous number of fake tickets, up to 70% of the total number. A little mathematics to start here. 70% of all tickets for the game being found to be fake would mean that 56,000 people rocked up at the Stade de France with forgeries. Added to the 80,000 capacity of the stadium, that would mean around 136,000 people attempted to enter the stadium. There is, quite simply, not enough surface area around the outside of the Stade de France for this to be true or for any number like it to be true. The space just does not physically exist. Even if we go with Oudéa-Castéra's number of 40,000, meaning 120,000 people in total, that is impossible. In the press conference, fans' method of travel towards the stadium were given numbers. The French authorities claimed 79,000 traveled by public transport and 16,000 by private coach or bus. So 95,000 total. How did the other up to 41,000 people get there? All in cars? That is not possible. The roads and streets around the Stade de France do not have the capacity for that kind of build-up of vehicles ahead of this event. It cannot be true. What's more, the claim that ticket pre-filtering checks were conducted is false. I stood alongside thousands underneath a sweltering flyover with no access to bathroom facilities or drinking water for over an hour before reaching the stadium. A dangerous amount of people were forced to enter the underpass by police who caused a bottleneck. Realizing there was danger for loss of life, the police removed the barriers where ticket checks were taking place and pushed people towards the stadium turnstiles. That meant my ticket and those of thousands of others alongside me were never even pre-filtered at all. Therefore, Interior Minister Darmanin's comments simply cannot be believed. Up to 40,000 people arrived at the stadium either without tickets or with fake ones. Around 60,000 Liverpool fans are believed to have traveled to Paris in order to be a part of the atmosphere around the final. The club was allocated 19,000 tickets for the game, meaning that around 41,000 traveled merely to be a part of the weekend and attend the fan park located in the southeast of the city at Cours de Vincennes. Fans without tickets are perfectly entitled to travel to the host city of the game. The city of Paris very willingly opted to accommodate those fans by putting on a fan park for them to enjoy and gladly received the financial benefit of their tourism. For Sports Minister Udia Castera's claims to be true, every single Liverpool supporter who travelled to France without a valid ticket was in possession of a forgery and attempted to enter the stadium. This is blatantly untrue and utterly impossible. If it were true, why was the fan park still full of tens of thousands of Liverpool supporters watching the match on big screens provided by the city of Paris? Where did they come from? Did they magically appear somehow? What Udia Castera appears to have done is simply subtract the number of fans with valid tickets from the overall number of Liverpool supporters in Paris and then claimed every single one of the remaining 41,000 was a fraudster. The claim is quite clearly false. There were witnesses and evidence of the above. Darmanin and Udia Castera made their highly contestable claims on Monday afternoon after a relatively brief meeting of French officials in Paris. Representatives of the government, police, the local municipality and UEFA were present. The meeting did not include any testimony from Liverpool Football Club and its supporters. They were not asked to contribute, and when the club made a request to do so, they were shut down by the French authorities. How could these ministers possibly have discovered the truth of what happened at the Stade de France in just a couple of hours without actually hearing from any of the people who were there and experienced it? Why did they come to such dramatic and downright offensive conclusions at such ludicrous pace without a properly transparent investigation being conducted? Darmanin and Udia Castera cannot possibly have evidence and witnesses of the above because they fundamentally haven't spoken to the witnesses who were there or looked at their evidence. Conclusion: having debunked all of these myths, then, what we can conclude is that two senior French government ministers have sought to blame Liverpool FC supporters for the mental and physical harm done unto them using figures and statistics which are simply untrue. The key question, therefore, is why these patently incorrect figures have been released publicly. There are three possibilities, and only Darmanin and Udia Castera will know which is correct. Either they are very badly misinformed, they are incompetent and unfit to do their jobs, or they are not telling the truth. UEFA Commission independent review into Champions League final turmoil. Champions League chaos brought back terrible memories of Hillsborough for Liverpool MP. For more stories like this, check our sport page. Follow Metro Sport for the latest news on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.